Good morning, good evening, and welcome to this week's live chat. I had a little tech issue this morning. I nearly didn't go live right on time, but I thought, you know what? I can troubleshoot this while we're still live. I can totally do it. I am skilled. So first things, good morning to those of you who jumped in first. We had Doug Houston was actually first today, which is a shock. A live stream consultant is in the house. Home Rapid Repair is also on his way as well. And we are chatting VidSummer in the chat by the looks of it, which is awesome. Let me know if the music's a bit loud. It's one of those things, it's a bit hard to monitor when you don't have headphones in. just getting that. But one thing I wanted to talk about today is balancing our creator lives. Now it's really easy to get sort of lost in the way of what the balance is. We all get, not all of us, but a lot of us will get burnt out trying to juggle, you know, work life and family life and YouTube life and all the other stuff that happens in between it. But balancing work and life can sometimes feel like walking a tightrope. Adding in YouTube, it's like you've got to keep plates spinning or you're juggling at the same time while you're on that tightrope. It's not just about dividing your time between all of these things, but it's about how you're going to integrate both worlds so that you're feeling like fulfilled and productive and happy and all of these things that just work for you. Now, I do have a script today, but do you think it's working? The answer is no. So I'm gonna have to just muck around with technology for just one second. Well, not so much as I should have just written it on paper. I usually use paper. I didn't use paper today, like a dum-dum, and now I'm suffering for it. Okay. Alrighty. Let me just get to the next point. Where are we in the chat? Everyone's jumping in. Thank you for letting me know the music is just right. I very much appreciate that. Hello, Leanne. So good to see you. So good to see you. Timeless Jump. Russie, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in ages. I needed this topic today. I took off for the summer and I'm back. That is awesome. Just get that band hammer out and give it some good adjustments. Yeah, there's a bit of that. There's a bit of that. There is a bit of that. Okay, so I'm going to continue on. Drop in your questions. Like, we're going to be hitting questions. If I'm talking about something that you want more clarity on or more of my opinion on, because really that's all this is. It's just my opinion on all these things. As someone who's worked this journey now for it's 8 years. It is 8 years since I started my creator journey, with varying levels of success depending on how you look at it. So you know, I've got some ideas. I've tried to run businesses while YouTubing and you know, like looking after my family and all this sort of stuff. So I've had to learn how to juggle what makes work-life balance for me, because something that's really important with work-life balance is it's not a 50-50 thing. It's not a must work 8 hours a day, must have 4 hours a day with family, must do this. Now, if you're a person who needs those firm delineations, then you have to work it out. But for me, I like a little bit of fluidity. I like a plan with a little bit of fluidity so that I can just keep going. Timeless Russie says, I love your opinion. Thank you. Well, you're in the right place to get it, let me tell you. Check for your needs. It's good to see you. Good to see you here. Livestream says you're very successful as you are still here doing it. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's the long game. I am playing the long game. All right. So while we're trying to keep ourselves fulfilled and productive and happy and you know, awake and all of the things that, like, when you think about what do I want my life to look like, and you need to make these decisions for yourself. What works for me will probably not work for you. Our brains are wired differently. Our lifestyles are different. What is important to us is different. You need to sit down and work out what each different thing means to you. You need to think about, you know, at the end of a day, do you have regrets? Did you look at the day and go, oh, I missed out on doing this thing with my family, or I didn't get to do this, or I really would have liked to have spent more time doing this. You really need to analyze those things and work out how you can get a little more of the things that make you happy. Because like it is a balancing act. A lot of us are solo creators, and I'm not talking in today's chat about how to farm out work to different team members or anything like that. Oh, you're right there, Macy. I'm live on YouTube right now, Yelly Cat. Yeah, I am. Wow, okay. Macy, who doesn't talk very much, just came in yelling. She's probably dobbing on a dog or something. That's what she likes to do. She likes to dob on Louie. Okay, so, and also keep in mind that what works for you today may not be what works for you in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months time. You need to be keeping an eye on things. Our lives change, our priorities change, our interests change. Just like our audience changes on YouTube, we change what we like as well. So it is super important to keep flexible and adapt. Now, I'm going to give you 7 points if I can, you know, work my technology to get to them all, but I have 7 points to help you navigate the ever-changing balance that is, the ever-changing landscape that is our work-life balance. And now I will reiterate this. We're not talking about a 50-50 perfectly aligned balance. Your balance might look like this, or it might look like this. We need to find the rope that you can walk on for years, okay? This is what the work-life balance is finding what makes you happy in the longer term, not what just makes you happy for today, but what makes you happy in the longer term. All right, so let's start. We're going to set boundaries, right? Everyone hates the B word. Everyone hates the B word. So while you're thinking about what boundaries you currently have, I'm going to talk about how I'm a beverage goblin today. So I have a water bottle, I have tea, and I have coffee. And speaking of coffee, I need some. I should open the drinking lid. And that's right, this is New Yeti. I've just realized you may not have seen this Yeti. New Yeti, I got it for my birthday. Thank you to my husband. Now, there we go. I'll pop that up there. Okay, so I've just realized I didn't have my buy me a coffee link, so I'm too busy setting up for an actual chat, which we haven't done for a while. Okay, so for when we're setting boundaries, we need to make it clear, not just to us, but to the people around us, that you're off the clock, that it is family time or you know, play time or pet time or whatever it is. Pets don't tend to keep to your boundaries as much as others. I just want to say they don't care about your calendar. All right. Now, it's easy to let work spill into your personal time, especially those of us that work from home. I work from home. I have been working from home now for, you know, about 20 years. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not just how long it feels. I have been working from home since just before my daughter was born, and she is about to turn 20 years old. So I've been working from home for 20 years and I have failed at all of the things from working from home. So trust me when I say create the balance, create the separate space if you've got the opportunity. Being able to have, because I didn't always have this separate room, I never always had a studio. When I very first started, I was out in the middle of the house. I was on the dining table with my laptop and trying to get everything done there. And not having that separation was trickier. So I'm very grateful that now I can actually close a door. So I can close the door when I'm working in here, but I can also close the door when I walk out of here. And that was something I really noticed when I had my separate, like I used to have an off-site studio. And when I had the off-site studio and when I had the studio in the front yard, being able to close and lock the door and walk away at the end of the day was surprisingly, like I was very surprised because I hadn't done it that way for 10 years. It was surprising how nice it was just to, that's it, personal time, office hours are over. But a lot of us can't do that. We have YouTube, like we have our day jobs or our, you know, existing things that we have to get done, and YouTube's kind of got to fit in around stuff. So let us continue on to clarify. So if you can, and a lot of this is if you can and if it works for you, set specific work hours. Think about which of the hours of the day that you're most productive and set those as your work hours. And stick to them to protect your personal time so that you know, like at such and such at 2 p.m. or actually for me at 12, I stop for an hour. I actually get up, I leave this desk, I go out, I make my lunch, and I go and sit in the living room or outside. I do not sit in here to eat my lunch, even if I've got, like, I want to watch a show or something that I could totally watch here. I do not do it here. I go somewhere. I physically remove myself from this space because we need that. We can't just sit here and keep going. For me, my boundary is actually really hard because I turned my yarn crafting hobby into a business. So it took a lot of effort for me to be able to sit and craft and not think of it as work. Like, I don't need to post this on socials. I don't need to use tools that I sell. I don't need to use yarn that I have an affiliate for. I can just appreciate what I have now. It's not to say I can't do those things as well, but I don't have to be mindful of it. Like, I can't post this photo to socials because I don't have an affiliate with this yarn company. It was some rando yarn that I picked up from a little store somewhere. You don't have to do it that way. So it's been very difficult for me because my hobbies blend with my life. So technology, I'm a total technology junkie. I love looking and researching for technology, and I do that for my hobby and I do that for work. Which one is which? I don't know. So they blend, they kind of, the lines blur a lot. So it is really important, if you can, to work out what is work or workish tasks and close the door on them at certain times of the day. Let me have a look in the chat here. Frankie over 50 has made it. So good to see you. Timeless says, yes, my life changed. I didn't expect a new bloke in my life. My first love, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It can take time out of your life doing things that you actually want to do. Tech for Your Needs says, balance is crucial. You can't neglect any aspect of your life. It's not good for your mental and physical health. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Michael Sahovsky has made it. Hey, it's good to see you, Michael. Doug's saying g'day to everybody. That is awesome. Kelly Pole, great to see you here. This is a great advice for everyone. And this is the thing, like, while I'm talking about this from a creator's perspective, this is relevant to anybody who's working for themselves or working from home. Like, all of what I'm going to say is relevant across the board, because I don't think of YouTube as just this one thing. I think of it as a greater part of my small business. And I run my taxation that way. I run everything that way. And so that's how it's embedded into my brain. YouTube is a greater part of my small business or my entrepreneurial journey. I don't actually consider myself an entrepreneur, which is kind of a funny thing considering what I've been doing for the last 20 years. But I consider myself a small business owner, which, are they not the same? Probably. But I have that delineation in my brain. Okay. So next point is prioritize your to-do tasks. Sit down each day. I have a notepad at my desk. It's actually right here. Today is empty. That's just some notes from my script last night, but it's still empty because I got up a little late. I'm not gonna lie. I got up a little late. I was up late last night live streaming, and I slept a little longer today, and I didn't write my morning to-do list, which I normally do while I'm drinking my coffee at my desk. It is the first thing I sit down and do at my desk. It was a habit I got into from when I was about 17 or 18 working in an office. And I realized that people would come to my desk with, this is urgent, this is urgent, this is urgent. And I realized very, very quickly what was urgent for them wasn't urgent for me. And so it would be very easy to get railroaded and forget important things or miss tasks that needed to be done in a specific order because of somebody else's urgency. Now, it's not to say that sometimes what they bring you is not urgent and you do need to drop everything and you do need to work on that. But understanding what is on your to-do list that is absolutely necessary, the things that have to get done. So keeping in mind that not everything on your to-do list is weighted evenly. It's not all the same level of importance. Like I put little things on my to-do list that I need to remember to get done, but will it be the end of the world if they don't? Probably not. Do they sometimes move to the next day or the next day or the next day? Yeah, folding washing moves from my to-do list. I keep like a work to-do list and a jobs to-do list, and the folding the laundry just, I really should just stop writing it in because I'm not going to do it. I'm going to find any reason to not do that task. So focus on the tasks that have the most impact first. It's that whole 80-20 rule. Let me know in the chat. Do you know what the 80-20 rule is? So focusing on the things in your to-do list that will make the most impact. And don't be afraid to say no. Like, I know it's hard, especially as a creator. It's you just want to be like, yeah, I can do that. Totally. I can do that for sure. Every time you're taking on a new client or something like that. Yep, I can do that. Absolutely. But at what stage will that diminish your day-to-day? What stage will all of this fluffy, busy work actually start impeding what you need to get done, the impacting actions that you need to do? One of the things that has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to more than one of us in the chat, is you get a little bit burnt out. Now, I didn't get quite to total burnout, but what happens is my body is very vocal and it lets me know when I'm starting to pull things a bit too thin. But, I'll get sick or I'll be in pain or it'll give me some sort of actual physical, like, hey, what's like, like what's going on? I'd like you to stop. So I'm actually going to make it so both your knees dislocate at the same time because you ignored every single other message. So here you go. You're going to stop and you're going to go and sit on the couch with some ice packs for a while now. Have fun with that. Take your phone. And so different people's bodies tell them differently. Do not ignore what your body tells you. Let's have a look in the chat. Timeless. There we go. Pareto's rule. Thank you very much. 80% of the job is done by 20% of the work. And that is what it is. So quite often things will be held up because we'll be tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. And that takes a ridiculous amount of time. It takes crazy amounts of time to make sometimes not that big of an impact. So sometimes you're just getting the 80-20 done. Now, obviously this is going to depend on the task. Some tasks need the 100%, but quite a few of the tasks that we have, the 80-20 will work just fine. Okay. Taking breaks. Now, I'm not talking like holidays and things like that because you definitely need to do that. But taking breaks and moving away from your desk or moving out of your space or turning your brain to another channel so you're not focusing on work for a little bit. Regular breaks throughout the day can keep you refreshed and actually more productive. Now, obviously, I'm giving you all of these tips from my perspective. These are things that work for me. If I go and step away and go and do something else, go and crochet a square for a blanket for 5 minutes, come back, I'm like, keep it going. It's like that whole fresh eyes on a project, or, I used to get up from my desk at work and go into the coffee room to make a coffee, and on the way back, chat to a couple of people. Then I'd sit back at my desk and whatever it was that was flummoxing me is just right there. I'm like, fixed, easy. But making sure that you are taking regular breaks and moving yourself out of your work situation where you can. It's not about working longer, but it's about working smarter. Like we've all heard it, work smarter, not harder. And this is the same thing. 8 hour editing sessions, even if you're in the zone, they're actually really bad for you. They're really, really bad for you. And I know sometimes I've been there. You have a deadline and you've just got to do it. It doesn't matter what your brain or your body want. You have a deadline that you've committed to. You've just got to do it. Don't make that the normal. Make it the absolute rarity, okay? You need to make time for yourself, whether it's exercising or reading, for me, crafting, watching a show, spending time with loved ones, making sure that you have time in your day for activities that relax you. And all of us are different. It'll be different for you. For the last, I want to say like 30 years or so, the thing that I do at the end of a work day, I used to, like when I worked corporate, I would come home, I would kick off my shoes, I would go walk through the house, dump my shoes, go out the back door and just stand barefoot in the grass. And I just look up in the sky. Hopefully the sun was out. More often than not, it wasn't, because I work long hours. And just stand there with your feet in the grass and just breathe with the world for a little bit. And I know it sounds really, woo. I didn't consider it woo. It was just, it started out because I used to get home from work and go, I need to get the washing off the line, and run down and get the washing off the line. And I realized, kick the shoes off on your way through, that I was inadvertently doing that. And then at times I would actually stop while I was in the middle of getting the washing off, that I would look up and just breathe for a second. And I realized one night that that's what was helping me. It was the standing with my feet in the grass and just stopping for just a moment. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. It can be 15 seconds. Something that you just stop and reset your brain and then go on again, okay? I could go on about that for a long time, about the importance of being able to do that. Now, obviously, not all of us have grass. I lived in an apartment for a while. No grass in my apartment, but I still stopped and went and stood on my little patio thing and breathed in the outside air for a little bit. Now I work in my house a lot, and it's quite easy for me to actually stay inside all day, not go out. I stop and I go out and grab the post. And I've got a dog now who needs to go outside regularly and things like that. I've got little things in my life that remind me, even when I don't want to do it, it still has to get done. Okay. I'm going to have another sip of my coffee and check the chat before we hit the next point. Am I going too fast? Is this making sense? Let me know in the chat. Shark Scrapper is here. Jerry is here. Shark Scrapper is caught as Chantelle Hills live. That is awesome. So glad you could make it. Legal Minded Friends with Karen Cole is here. It's so good. It's so good to see everybody. Thank you all for jumping in and joining me today. Amazing Yacht Destinations is reminding everyone to press the thumbs up. Definitely appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Let's have a look here. I'm just scrubbing past your conversations from each other. Jerry says here that he can't edit for more than 1 to 2 hours at a time. I just can't. It's too many decisions. And that is probably in a way technically a good thing. It makes you get up and go back. Look, I know people that are like, oh, I edit for 10 hours straight, and they're actually really proud of it. For me, I'm like, is that actually a good thing? Is that a good thing? I don't actually think it is. And I've been there. I've done that whole just burn through and just keep powering through things. And it was my regular. It was my routine. Every Monday I would build my set, record a video, check to make sure I had everything I needed, pull the set down because it's in the middle of my living room and I couldn't leave it there for, once I picked my daughter up from school, and start editing. I'd go and get her from school. I'd come home. I'd keep editing while trying to keep an eye on her. Then the second my husband got home, it'd be headphones on, edit. And I could edit for 8 hours easily. And then for that video to be released the next morning. And it was not good. It was not good for anybody involved. Let's have a look. Doug says, got to regularly touch grass. Yeah. Was there a coffee alert? Did I miss a coffee alert? Are you right there, Macy? You're very loud. I don't know if I did. Hang on a second. I'm like, come on. It's not in here. Maybe I'll tell you what it is. I'm on the wrong thing. There we go. I'm like, why is the buy me a coffee not there? And it was because I was in the wrong thing. Okay, I'm checking. I thought I was all set up and ready to go, but I had technology issues. Let me just check my. I don't want to miss things. You know, you guys are all awesome, and I certainly don't want to miss them. Let me just go into my. I did. Oh, thank you, Doug. I missed a coffee alert, so I'm going to do this.
Yes, it's coffee time.
That
Coffee. Cappuccino. Java. Yes.
Chris Haley, Livestream Consultants, has bought me 3 coffees, a little something for Starbucks when you get to the States next week. Can't wait to meet you and Doug in person at Vid Summit. Thank you so much, Livestream Consultants. I very much appreciate it. And Doug, thank you for reminding me that I had missed it. Now, if another one comes through, I should see it. I'm in the right screens. Like, don't even at me. Seriously. I'm going to keep going through here. Yeah, oh yeah, the grass stings me. Don't stand on anthills. Yeah, always check. Gabby says my dog would lick my feet to death. That is a real problem. That could actually happen. It's you don't want to do that out here. The ants will rip you a new one on your feet. Well, you know, like maybe it's metaphorical. Maybe something else that you can do that gives you that same feeling of relax and relief. So you know. Tech for Your Needs says it's good to smell the fresh air. Absolutely. Absolutely. Shark Scraper says, in a previous life as an executive at a big defense company, I would actually schedule time in my day every hour or so to get up and walk around. It is unbelievable how often, thank you, Larry.
Yes.
Coffee with real milk for Chantelle. Thank you. And we've tested it. It definitely works now, doesn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. And yeah, I like real cow. I like. Ready for this? Real cow's milk or almond milk? Like, sorry, I do like almond milk. I even like oat milk. Or almond juice, or I don't even know what it is. Whatever. The white stuff from almonds that goes in your coffees, I like that. Okay, Gabby says that, here we go, trying to be more intentional in taking breaks because I could go all day without eating or drinking or bathroom breaks, or I would just keep going because I just want to get it done. Do you know what? Like, I totally feel you on this because I actually destroyed my metabolism. It took nearly 3 months to put my metabolism back into place, and it was purely because I wasn't eating properly, and it wasn't an intentional thing. It just slowly crept in, like, yeah, I'll have lunch in a minute, I'll do that in a minute, and then get up in the morning and then realize you never have lunch, and then get up in the morning and be like, I just want to get this one thing done and then I'll have breakfast. Next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're shaking because you've actually consumed 0 food, like not light amounts of picking, but nothing. I've had like 2 cups of coffee and probably a couple of drinks of water, and that is it. And it took me a long time to fix that, and I broke things because of it. So we have to look after ourselves. Our body needs very cautious monitoring and balance. Everything has to be in perfect balance. Doug says, speaking of breakfast, Doug, yes, you need to have some breakfast. That oat milk in coffee was not bad. Yeah, look, it's not terrible. It is different. It's not terrible. What does it for me is 130 Ks, 130 miles per hour, 50 feet off the ground, flying through a winding river valley. The focus to do that clears my mind of all the distractions. I love that because we do all have the different things that will help us. We do all have something that will help us just to stop thinking about one thing and help us to focus on the next. And working out what that thing is for you is very important. It's very important because we all have to be able to rework our reset each day or at different times of the day. So one of the things to keep in mind also, and I said this before, but I'm going to say it again, is stay flexible, okay? Don't be so rigid with your calendar that, no, well, sorry, not in the calendar, family. Not going to go and do that, thing that you want to do that was really spur of the moment and spontaneous and would be wonderful and create fantastic memories. But sorry, wasn't in the calendar, so we're not doing that today. Sometimes you just have to fly off the cuff. And also keeping in mind that the routine or the plan that you set for today may not actually work for you in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or 5 years. Being flexible and constantly checking back and double checking that your priorities are still the same, that the tasks you personally need to get completed each day are still the same. These things do change over time, or they can sometimes change what they look like. You may need to put a video out every week, still put a video out every single week, but what you do for that video may have changed, may have tweaked. And sometimes it comes down to your skills improved. So instead of needing to block out 6 hours of editing time, you may only need to block out 2.5 hours of editing time, or your business has changed and there's someone else doing the bulk of the editing for you and you just need to block out time for a final review. Things change, and make sure you're going through and double checking how things are looking for you. You need to be willing to reassess and adjust everything to maintain whatever is the balance for you. And I keep saying whatever's the balance for you because it's not a 50-50 thing. Your balance might look like this. In my work-life balance looks like this. This is what it looks like. Worky stuff, life stuff. Because there's so much overlap between everything that if you just looked at my calendar from like an outside look in, it would look like I work constantly. It really would. But because a lot of my hobbies and my interests outside of work, they are also embedded in there as well. Sometimes there's a blurred line. And so the actual balance might look like this, but it's probably more like this. But all these things, if you list them out, most people consider those work or workish style things. Okay. So next point is unplug after work. And this is the hardest part for me. Stepping away, the workday is over. Unplug after work. Now the problem for me, and this may be the same for some of you, is not everybody I work for is on the same time, is on the same time zone. So while I may want to go, right, no more work for me for the next 8 hours, they might be just logging in and checking their emails and processing through things, and they might come across something. So having, again, a little flexibility, but also boundaries. Understand what is, and go back to the start. What is urgent for them may not be urgent for you, and vice versa. Have a look at it. I'm definitely not in team turn your phone off. I am a little bit too much of a control freak for that to make me happy. I would be a little antsy is probably the best way to describe it. So, you have to find the balance that works for you. But I'll tell you something right now. When I have got something that's on my plate or something that I keep checking, right? So some of us have hyperanalytica where you constantly check the stats of your YouTube channel. Having the app, the studio app on your phone is probably not a good idea then, because you can just pull it out and check it like even more. So every now and again, I'll realize I'm hyper focusing on something, or I keep being distracted by something. Every now and again, I'll get sucked into a little game, like a little mobile phone game that I probably downloaded or installed or something while I was sitting in a doctor's surgery or something where I was just needed to kill some time. And so, I've installed a little game, but then I've realized that little game is taking more and more and more of my time. So I actually just uninstall it, because that way I have to make the decision. Like, I don't just sort of, I'd like to know in the chat, does anybody else find themselves just like just quickly just going through checking, oh yep, check Twitter, check Facebook, check emails, check and I don't know how often I do it, but I do it quite often and it's not intentional. So understanding that these things happen and that you really do need to just not do it sometimes for your own mental break, because it's this sort of stuff that actually leads to burnout. It's not always the big things. It's not always the big things that lead to burnout. Sometimes it's all the little things, like the pecking of like 1,000 chickens is what gets you. It's not the one big task. So understanding that sometimes turning off your email notifications or putting your phone on to do not disturb for a little while, or focusing on something on your personal life. So, and being there for it and being mindful of it. Sometimes that's what you need. This separation can sometimes help you to reduce your stress. It's going to depend on you as an individual. And for me, sometimes I just have to remove the dang app so I don't look at it. And I'm not like, oh, I'll just check that. No. All right. Now for point number 7 is communicate openly. Now, you guys might think I'm like a great communicator. I am so not a great communicator. I enjoy live streaming and I can talk under wet cement, so that's cool. But I'm not actually that good a communicator in making things clear with my family. And sometimes I do try very hard to be a clear communicator to my clients and my bosses. But sometimes things get a little bit lost in translation, or like I'll say something that I thought was funny, but they're reading it and they don't get it as funny. Like understanding communication and communicating openly is really important. So especially if you're feeling overwhelmed, talk to your employer or colleagues, talk to your family, people around you, your support network. Explain where you're at, whether it be good, bad, or ugly. Sometimes just getting that out and not having it bottled in is what you need. Don't be the person that just bottles everything in, because we can't do that long term. That's actually how serial killers are created, is that they bottle stuff in, and then all of a sudden there is a trigger, and it could be something little, it could be someone cut you off, or someone was rude to you at a store. So don't become a serial killer. Just communicate clearly with the people around you. So if that's your takeaway from today, I have concerns. But doing all these things, and it's a lot, right? It's a lot to just dump in. And what made me think of it was I have been asked a lot if I'm planning on making content while I'm traveling to Vid Summit. And this is where this whole discussion point came from me. Is are you planning on doing all this thing? Because sometimes it's really important to be in a moment, not be thinking of it as a content creation standpoint, but just actually being part of that moment, not having your phone in your hand, not recording everything, not, I'm that person who goes to concerts, and other than like a couple of photos at the start, maybe a photo of something cool in the middle, I don't have my phone out. I enjoy it for what it is, because I paid to be at this thing. I need to just be immersed in it, be part of it. And so when it comes to, am I creating content for Vid Summit? The answer is I don't know. I'm going to take some things just in case I want to, just in case I have the opportunity, because I don't want to miss opportunities. I do look for opportunities, and I don't want to miss them or not be able to action them because I didn't prepare myself for them. But at the same time, I'm also going to be enjoying the moment. I'm going to be just taking on board everything. It's an entire new world for me. An entire new world. Because while, yes, I've done VidCon in Australia, I know that, even VidCon in the US is a totally different event to VidCon Australia. So I definitely want to be able to enjoy it for what it is. I'm just going to have a little look in the chat here. Yeah. I also had to delete games from my phone. Tetris is so addictive. Claire says, don't become a serial killer. Best line ever. Absolutely. I think it's pretty important. I think that's pretty important. Enjoy the performance. That's right. Live the moments for sure. Home Rapid Repair says, I feel so bad for the creators that feel they need to vlog everything. That's no way to live. And I think it takes a certain kind of person to do that, to do that content, to grab all of the parts of their life and just share them. I definitely respect them for their decision, but I'm the same. I don't know how they do it. I need to be able to step away, and I need to be able to immerse myself in moments sometimes and just enjoy them for what they are and create a memory actually in my brain, not just on my phone. Claire says that doing all the things is a one-way street to burnout. I had a nervous breakdown 8 years ago because I was doing all of the things and working too much. Now, Claire, I don't know if you guys all know Claire. Claire is a really good friend of mine, like as in real life friend and everything. And Claire has a crochet YouTube channel, and it is insanely good. And she does really fun content that people love, and had to make some hard decisions. So yeah, you have to sit down. You have to think about what is going to be put up on socials and what's just for you. And having that delineation of I'm just doing this for me. Leanne says it's very important to be present in the moment. Livestream Consultant says that when I get to the US, that Waffle House will definitely be something I have to do. Look, there is such a long list of things I want to get done while I'm there. I just don't know how many I'm going to get to do. I've got some limitations on my time. Know Your Joe, it's so good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Claire, well, yeah, here we go. Claire says, I used to feel like everything I crocheted, I had to share it. Not anymore. And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, even if it's on brand, on niche, whatever, you don't have to share every single thing. Now, if you're like, oh, this would be a cool thing to share, I could share this, and you're okay with that, then do it. By all means, I'm not saying don't do these things. I'm just saying be mindful of what it is that you're choosing to do, because you do only have so many minutes in a day, right? And do you want to spend all of those minutes thinking, dreaming, creating content? Now, in saying that, I kind of do that, but sometimes I'll be sitting there crocheting something for myself while thinking these things, right? And that's okay, because I'm actually resting and relaxing. But when it becomes so consuming that nothing else actually around you matters, that's a concern. That's a concern. Know Your Joe says, are you visiting the US soon? Yes, I am. Vid Summit is on next week. And I am flying from Brisbane in Australia over to Vid Summit to be there. So that will be very exciting. I leave on my Saturday. And then I arrive on Saturday in the US. I gain a day, which is great. It's so, Home Rapid Repair says it's so bad I can't even fix something for my wife unless I have the camera, lights and mic out. I mean, this, and look, I want to preface this with something. When you are starting your creator journey, getting into the habits is not a bad thing, but just being mindful of your habits and making sure that they become bad habits. Because, and like I said at the very start, what I think works, I was just about to knock my coffee on myself. What I think works for me may not be what works for you. Maybe for you, you do need to have the lights and the cameras out to fix everything. And sometimes making it easy so that you can like, oh, I can actually record this. This will be great. That's actually not a bad thing, but just understanding that you actually have the choice. And if you make the choice, if you make the decision, that's a different story than when you realize the habits that you're forming where you're no longer consciously making the decisions, you're just doing. That's when things get a little bit unbalanced. So yeah. Do you have any questions for me while I sit here and drink my delicious coffee out of my birthday Yeti? Michael Sahovsky says, I need to come to Australia to beat you and Doug. Well, luckily Doug and I don't live too far from each other, so that makes it easier. We're at least in the same states, because Australia is actually quite a large country. So, yeah. That's good content too. That would be a funny channel idea. And that's the thing, like, we can think of this stuff. Like, I can't tell you how many channel ideas I have. And keeping it to 2 channels has been really tricky and tough, because at some stage I have to earn income as well, which is where my client work comes in. That's where I get majority of my income from. So having that balance is good. I had to have balance, because you can't just do YouTube and not pay your electricity bill. So yeah. Are you packed and ready for the trip? No, I'm not. I have that's my goal for today. After this live stream, today's live stream will be my last live stream on the channel for a couple of weeks, I think, unless I get to do something impromptu while I'm away. But like maybe next Sunday, I don't know how I'll be feeling or what I've got planned. So I'll possibly have bandwidth. I may still have jet lag. I don't know. This is my longest trip. I might be knocked out for jet lag. I may not be. I don't know. But then the following Sunday night, I'll be flying home. So I definitely won't be doing, one that night. And so I had to sort of sit down and make a decision on what I was going to do. So I'm packing some very lightweight, very, simple things just in case I want to do a really simple live stream, and it will probably be from my phone or from my iPad, something like that. It's going to be super lightweight. It won't have the widgets for the buy me a coffee. I'll have to have my phone in my hand and keep an eye on my notifications. So, you know, making sure that I do these things just in case, just in case I want to do that. Because the other thing is, and to keep in mind, is I love doing this. So it's not like it's a chore, but sometimes I have to balance things. So Know Your Joe is asking the question, what is your drive for making content? My drive for making content always has been to help people. Whether it's from Fiberific, helping people on their yarn crafting journeys, helping them understand their tools, helping them to learn a new technique, to over here on the live streaming channel, where again, I'm helping people to understand more the behind the scenes of live streaming, understanding the like how to use the tools. I'm like, actually, you know what? The list's kind of the same. For me, it's always been about helping people. It's never been about how big I can make my channel. What kind of money can I make? How many subscribers will I get? That's never been my focus. Fiberific has been going as a concern now for 8 years. We haven't hit 10,000 subscribers yet. But that's because of how I've run that business. And that's decisions that I have made have done that. And I know that if I make different kind of content, if I do different sorts of things, that it will help to grow it faster. I understand that, but it won't help me do what I want to do. So you have to think about what your end game is. And the reality is I don't have an end game. My husband's like, what are you going to do when you retire? And I'm like, retire? Sorry, I haven't gotten there. And, you know, I'm not far off 50. And so, you know, and he's just a couple of years older and he's already thinking about retiring from his corporate job. And I'm not there. I'm not thinking about it. I'm loving what I'm doing. I don't want to stop. So retiring is not really the end game for me. Is what can I do to keep going and doing this and helping people for as long as possible? Because my ultimate goal is to help people. Let's have a look here. Michael Stahovsky says he'll probably faint when that happens. Like when you get to meet us, you probably won't. You probably won't. Legal Mind Friends with Karen says, I always get jet lag flying back to England from America. Yeah, I'm not quite sure which way. Like I'm assuming I'm going to get jet lag both ways, honestly. They did warn you it'll be hot here, didn't they? Yeah, they did. Basically, from what I've looked, it's the weather that Dallas is having right now is my usual summer weather as well. So while it's currently winter for me now, it's not unusual. It's not weather I'm unknown to. I'm used to high temperatures, high humidity. So like I'm used to like our summers are 30 to 40 degrees Celsius with like 75 to 80, 90% humidity. That's pretty common. You know, like I was actually watching a TikTok or some sort of short capacity short video. I don't know which one, and it was around how someone in the UK was complaining about the heat wave, and then someone in the US was like, I looked up what a definition of a heat wave is in the UK, and it was like 3 or more days of temperatures consecutively over 25 degrees. And I kind of had a little giggle because the same as him, we set our thermostats here on our air conditioners, like when we're dropping the temperatures down from our heat waves, our preferred most energy efficient temperature is 24 degrees. So like that's our comfortable temperature. My winter temperatures can hit 24 to 27 degrees Celsius. So yeah, it's all subjective, isn't it? But yes, I am prepared-ish because I am coming from my winter to your summer. I mean, we are starting to come into a bit of spring here. The sun's been out. It's been a bit warm. So I'm going to say our spring to your summer. So there will be that adjustment, but I should be able to cope. And I've got the wardrobe for it, so it's easy. Let's have a look here. Right now, the weather forecast for Dallas for Vidsummer is high 80s to low 90s and 30 to 40% chance of rain, but that could change. Weather is crazy. Weather is crazy. It can do whatever it wants. Know Your Joe says, does your channel generate revenue in some capacity, or is it just a labor of love? Both of them both channels generate their own incomes. So in various fashions of how it works. It all is bundled into, for taxation purposes, it's all bundled into one business, and it is a revenue generating business. So, and that includes the client work that I do, helping people directly, moderation work, the other work that I do for other YouTubers, as well as over on Fiberific. I actually have a lot of affiliate sales and affiliate marketing. I also get like buy me a coffees and here we do have a channel membership sort of through Buy Me a Coffee, as well as over on Fiberific. We do have channel memberships over there as well. We just had a retreat for the Fiberific bunch, which was so much fun. Totally 100% booked out of next year's retreat when we announced the date. So you have, making sure that things make income's pretty important as well. So Brendan's recovery, great to see you. Great to see you. Know Your Joe says we're getting a cool front literally right before you get here. Are you in Dallas? Because that would be cool. Getting a cool front literally right before you get here. That's great timing. I would like that. The weather that I'm getting in Australia right now, like with the 25 degree, 26 degree days, that's actually my favorite perfect weather. I love anything from 20 to 25 degrees. Anything over that, I'm like aircon, but other than that, I just open a window, put on a ceiling fan. I'm pretty happy. 25C would be a serious heat wave in winter here for us in southern New Mexico. Normal temperatures are 0 to 20. Yeah, well, see, I'm subtropics here, so we don't, like, we'll get overnight lows. In the depths of winter, we will get overnight lows of -1, 0, around there. And we had a few of them a few weeks back. But on that same day with our, -1 low overnight, once the sun came out, that day got up to 20 degrees. So it's we do have these huge blocks of temperature. So yeah. Let's have a look here. Oh, you're in Fort Worth. Awesome. That's very close. It's very close. Oh yeah, 25 is 77. I needed the translation. Yeah. So I'm not expecting it to be 25 in Dallas. I'm expecting it to be closer to 30. So what is that? 80? I don't know. 81? Yeah. New York, it gets cold, but never like that. Yeah, we don't, because we don't get snow here. We don't have the altitude or the low enough temperatures for it to get snowy. For me to see snow, I have to travel, and I have to travel I have to travel a long way. So yeah. No, your Joe says we have our thermostat set to 26. Yeah, we have ours set to 24. Sometimes in the heat of summer, on the bad days, it doesn't cope. It doesn't get it right down there. But if it gets it down to 26 when it's 39 or 40 outside, I do a dance. I'd rather be in here than out there. That's for certain. I do have a question. For those of you that were here from the start or from earlier on in the stream, did this help in any way? Did me, putting this together actually help anything? I'm very curious. I like to know that what I'm doing actually works. There's really that. That's really what it comes down to. Oh, Timeless Rusty forgot the conversion. Yeah, you get snow in New York. I've seen some videos. 30 to 35 is, I'm assuming, yep, 30 to 35 is what's going to be in Dallas. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So yeah, it's going to be warm. It's going to be warm. I'm bringing cotton and I'm bringing linen and, comfy, lightweight, open shoes, just all those things. Also, I'm going to be inside a lot. So hopefully the convention center's air conditioning works just fine. I've just found out where my meals will be, so they're inside as well. So, everything's inside for the most part. So I'll probably be, walking over really early in the morning and then coming back really, after dark. Maybe. What time's dark? I don't know. I haven't looked at what time's dark. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weather, right? Weather just does stuff. You just go, yep, that's the weather. We have a conversation for people who live in Melbourne. So that's 2 states south from me, where they have 4 seasons in a day, where you quite literally need to, you have to layer. You need a tank top as well as a big winter puffer jacket, as well as an umbrella and a hat, because in the span of a few hours, you could need all of those things. It's just very, very, very funny. So 8 p.m. sunset in Dallas. Okay, so maybe, hopefully, I'm heading back before then. So we'll see. Timeless Rusty said that yes, it was a great conversation. I don't feel guilty for having a break, but I have to balance my filming days. It's the editing that's the only time killer. There's so much I want to do in a day. It does make it hard. And this is why it's so important for us to sit down and work out what's actually important, what's necessary, what's important, what do you want to do, what do you hate doing, and working out all these things. Because sometimes it is easier, depending on the jobs that you hate or that you really don't enjoy, and depending on where you're at in your business, sometimes it is actually better to farm those out. I always remember a conversation that Gary Vaynerchuk had with somebody. It was recorded. I just watched it. I wasn't in the room or anything silly like that. I don't know any of these people. But he was talking about how understanding that he was not the right person to be the CEO of VaynerMedia, and having somebody else who is better at the CEO role, somebody who is understanding of that particular skill set, is a better person to have as a CEO, even though it is in essence his company. And then over the last couple of years, watching people like Linus Tech Tips, so Linus Sebastian, step aside as CEO and bringing somebody else in to run the company, because understanding that somebody else is a better CEO than you could be. Somebody else could be a better video editor than you. Somebody else could be a better channel manager than you and understand your analytics better. Somebody else, you know what I mean? Somebody else could remote produce your live streams better than you. If you have the financial bandwidth to pay someone to do some of these things for you, and those things can next level and bring in even more income, sometimes that's a decision to make. So yeah, It's one of those things. Home Rapper says, I liked your tips today. Keeping your personal peace is only something the individual can know of themselves. Absolutely. And this is the thing. I can tell you what works for me. I can tell you what doesn't work for me. I can't tell you what'll work for you. You need to work it out. You do. Come back next year. Look, you know what? I'm trying really hard. And I was actually chatting with Doug about this on Saturday night. Really hard to focus on this year's Vid Summit. I am so far away from being able to afford that trip on my own without a boss paying for it or another company paying for it or a sponsor paying for it. I'm so far from being able to afford, you know, it's working out to be around a $7,000 Australian dollar trip. Once you have the airfares from Australia, the accommodations, the conversion rate of what the food's going to cost and all those sorts of things for the 8 days I'm going to be there. I'm far away from comfortably doing that and being able to take that out of my personal account. So I'm just supremely grateful that my new role is covering all of this. So I would love to think that I get to go again next year. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to count my chickens. I'm just supremely grateful that I get to go this time. Oh, you're saying you're going to try to come back next year. Okay, well then yes, you should totally try to come back next year. Vid Summit, for those of you who don't know what it is, I would personally consider Vid Summit to be the best creator conference in the world. And I know that's a big one. Hang on a second. I know that was just liked by somebody. I know that's a big statement to make. There are a lot of conferences out there. There is VidCon in all the various places. There is Social Media Marketing World. There is Tube, what was it called? Tube Fest in the UK. There are so many events running and then the smaller events for the podcasting events, the marketing events, all of these individual ones. And not to say any of them are bad and don't go to them. I'm not saying that at all. But I think the absolute best creative conference is Vid Summit. And it has been something I've been wanting to do for the last 5 to 7 years. And has not been able to do it for lots of different reasons. Some of them being cash, some of them not. And then being able to do it this year is just, I still don't believe it's true, if that makes any sense. I'll probably be on a plane to the USA and still be struggling to believe that I'm going to Vid Summit. It is just, yeah. It's just one of those things. If the cost stays the same-ish, you would need to put aside $153 a week. And that's actually quite a lot. That's about 250 Australian dollars. That is just trying to think of what's something that costs $250 in Australia for day-to-day living. Not a day, a week. Let me just think. I'm just trying to think of something that's about $250 a week. I don't even know. I can't think off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. It is a lot. It's a lot to put aside every week, but it's... Kelly says groceries for a family. And I'm like, I think when Abby's home, I think we spend a little bit more than that. Yeah. Home Rapid Repair says it's probably like $800 Australian a month. Yeah. Oh, no, it's not rent. Our rents over here are crazy. Our rents, good luck finding anything under $500 a week. Yeah. A lot of people are like, oh, Australians get paid so much per hour. It's ridiculous. But our cost of living is very high. So, yeah. So, and I live in Brisbane, which is like the poor cousin of Sydney and Melbourne. And I live probably about an hour-ish an hourish on a train out of Brisbane CBD, and rents out here are around $500 odd a week. There are serious cat noises. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, rents over here are insane. I don't know. Leanne says that food shopping for two, if you budget well, then it's, yeah. So basically it is the grocery budget for a couple, if you are budgeting cautiously. So yeah. Here we go. How valuable would going to Vid Summit be for someone who is just starting out in content creation and has not even decided what to name their channel and has such made no content? That's a really tough one, because I honestly do believe there's things that you could learn. I honestly believe that there's plenty of, my cats are fighting. I think there's things that you could learn, but I don't know if you would understand how great the content, like how great what you're learning is, until you've sort of battled the field a little. I know of plenty of people who are researching their channels that do come to Vid Summit. It does happen. But I honestly think that maybe, my dog's just come in to dob on the cats. I don't know. It's a tough one. If you have the income to do it, I would do it. If you don't, wait until your channel's making some income. That's what I would say. I do think that there is stuff for everybody, every content creator of every level at Vid Summit. And that's kind of the point. They do work it out that way. But yeah, it's definitely, I would definitely say I would probably wait. For me, I would wait. But only you know you, and only you know your journey. Doug says that he's probably going to have to move further out. Oh, Doug, I'm so sorry. Moving is awful. Rent out here for something that's 100 years old out here in the boonies is around $800 a month, but I do live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, we have our rents charged weekly in Australia. We don't pay monthly, we pay weekly. And where I live is considered not great. Let's go with that. It's like the crime. It's where the crime is. And then we're paying like $500 a week Australian. So, yeah. Legal Minded says that it's 51 pence to the cents for Australian dollar, 68. So for $250 a week is rent. No, gosh, and not our mortgage repayment. We've got a really low mortgage and we pay nearly $2,000 a month for mortgage as well. So, yeah, it's not $250 a week. Yeah. And you know, it's just how it is. Like, rents and property prices and everything all fluctuate. So we just have to ride out the waves and see how it goes. We've been living here now in this house for 17 or 18 years. So my husband is itching. He wants to sell up and move. I'm like, and where are we going to move to for this sort of money? Like, so yeah, it is an interesting time. But yeah, the Aussie dollar is not doing great. Like, it's really not. I think Doug says his rent is stupid high. I can imagine. I mean, you're in one of those nice areas, or nice. It's definitely nicer than here. I can imagine your rent would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. Cause and then like everybody, it's like, okay, so I'll have to move further out to cover the rent costs. Because the rent is so stupid dumb. I'll have to move further out. But then public transport costs in Australia are also ridiculous. I mean, not right now. They're doing some big boat grab where they've dropped public transport costs to like never before seen lows. Like, what is it, 50 cents a trip or something? It's something stupid. They're helping battle the cost of living crisis that we are having, but it is just, I reckon it'll stop the second the election happens in Australia, or in Brisbane, the Brisbane election. I'm so jaded. I'm so jaded. I'd love to see it stay that low. It won't stay that low. They can't maintain it. But yeah. Legal Minded Friend says, how can you afford to live, or do you have a higher hourly wage? Yeah, we have a higher hourly wage. My daughter works at Woolworths. She is a checkout operator at Woolworths, and she is paid $22 an hour. That is the minimum wage for an adult in Australia. She's also working at a vet clinic, and she gets paid more for those hours because that's more work based on her current education that she's doing. But yeah, we get paid a higher hourly rate. I think right now the big discussion is that the wages haven't kept up with the CPI index or something. I mean, my husband keeps up more with that. He's an accountant, but I don't really understand all the stuff that happens. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Doug says, yeah, not sustainable for the public transport, but it does help right now. I'm sure it does. When my oldest son moved out, his first tiny apartment was $1,000 a month. Now he's in a cute, nice starter home at $1,650 a month. We are in a house you'd probably like, Home Rapid Repair. It would give you lots to do. If we sell it, it'll be sold as a renovator's delight. And yeah, our mortgage is closer to 2,000 Australian a month. So for something that's not cute, not nice, and doesn't really suit our needs anymore. So yeah, it's a fixer-upper for sure. All right, let's have a look at the next thing. New rentals in our area featuring 1 bed, 1 bath is $6.95 a month. I don't know what a 1 bed, 1 bath is. Our standard around here is 3 beds, 1 bath. So they're like little houses rather than apartments. So yeah, we have, and that's the other thing. Like Australia has this whole thing about the sprawl rather than the high rise. So yeah. Tech for Your Needs says, I would recommend new creators to wait before attending Vid Summit, especially if they are uncertain about pursuing a career in content creation due to cost considerations. Yeah. Yep. So, oh, sorry, I didn't read that whole comment. Here we go. It finishes off. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath going for over $2,300 a month. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, $16.95 a month. Sorry, yes, I saw that. And that's in Fort Worth. Okay. Yeah. It's all very, it's definitely, it all depends on your location and where you are. Like, real estate agents are all about location. And sometimes paying a bit more rent means that you save on transport costs and things like that, which is great. But sometimes you can't do that one. Wow. I was fortunate we got our place for $25,000. Is that right? Is that a typo? But it needs a ton of repair over the last 3 years, but we own it outright. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. I don't know when the last time properties in Brisbane, or even, like not so much Brisbane City, but southern Queensland, were that sort of price. My dad lives out in the middle of Queensland, like in the desert basically, and his was 100,000. And that was because no one wanted it. So, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what's happening here as well. Growth is off the chart and property is at demand. Yep. We've got, like you're talking about how your son has got his own place. We know for a fact that our daughter couldn't get a place. She can't rent a place because they won't rent to, they can be so fussy. They'll put an apartment or a little unit on on up for rent, they'll have 50 applicants they can choose between. They're not going to choose the student. So yeah, Kelly says you can't even paint a house for $25,000 in Australia. That's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. Oh yeah, Home Rapid Repair says you can't even buy a buildable lot here for 25. Shark Scrapper is saying, I now live in a vacation destination, so the Airbnb folks have brought up a lot of the home inventory, making rentals very expensive. Not sure how the college kids afford it. Look, and this is a discussion that we had before my daughter went on her little adventure that she is about to come home from, which was she goes to university or college, but she does most of it online, and she does it from here at home, and then has to attend campus a couple of times a year for prac days. But she also then has to work at a vet clinic for prac hours. She's becoming a vet nurse, so that's a vet tech in the US, I think. And so here in Australia, our university students or college students don't tend to travel across the country and do the whole dorm room thing. Now, I don't know how much of that's real or how much of it's just what's portrayed on television. I only know what's on television, I'll be honest, when it comes to dorm room stuff. So, you know, like the whole big, you know, moving in days and stuff like that. I don't know, but it's not the usual here. I don't think most of our universities even have dorms. You end up having whole little suburbs where houses are rented out by groups of university students, and now it's getting harder and harder and harder for them to do that. So because our daughter was doing university here, it made life a lot easier for her to not have to find somewhere to rent. But she also can't just move out with a group of friends, which was like a rite of passage when I was her age. Like, you had like a bunch of people who live in a house and, you know, just be silly and have fun and go to work and come home and eat ramen, you know. But this generation of children, she's not children, but you know what I mean, this generation of young adults, it's not going to be the same. And then she had this opportunity to go and live in bunk rooms and work at a ski lodge for 3 months. And we were just like, you should do it. Should do it. Like, you love to ski, you love the snow, you're not going to see it here, so you should go and do that. So she's just had this big adventure and she's about to head home, but it was about the only way she was going to get to do that sort of thing, not living at home with her parents, and be able to afford to do it. And just to put that in perspective, her bed in a room of 6 beds, so 3 sets of bunks, her bed was $150 a week. And that did not include food, transport costs, anything. That was literally to cover her bed. So, yeah. Livestream consultant says, all of you are correct. We got a great deal and I knew how to fix everything myself. That's the big thing, isn't it? Like, if you had to bring in contractors to do all the work, it would be a totally different situation. But being able to do it all yourself, I think that's amazing. Livestream consultant says the big universities don't typically have dorms, but the small ones do, at least in my area. Oh, there you go. My daughter did stay in a dorm for her first year of uni in Lismore. They do exist. Good to know. Good to know. I didn't know they existed here. I know that, like, in some of like the big country ones, I know in Armidale that there's dorm rooms. I know that like some of those universities that are basically in the middle of nowhere, they had to build dorms because there was actually no housing. So yeah. Doug says that when he did move to Brisbane, he lived in a dorm room for 6 months. That's amazing. So I just don't know what I'm talking about. That's what it's coming down to. I didn't know that there was that many options. Leanne says then she and a couple of uni friends rented a flat together. Yeah. But yeah, cost of living sucks. That's the short and the long of it is the cost of living sucks. Also, the Australian dollar sucks. Like if we're just telling, if I'm just dropping what things suck, Cost of living sucks. Australian dollar sucks. The fact that it takes me, I think it's going to take me about 17 hours of flight time to get from me to Dallas. I think that also sucks. I wish it was faster. Why don't we have Star Trek transporters yet? We got the phones. We got the tablets. I want the transporter system next. You know, I'd like that. You know, that would be great. Cost of dying isn't much better. Same in England. Petrol is crazy. Yeah, is a fortune. Yeah, same here. Professor Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek. Total tragic. I want transporters. They're working on transporters. I have heard that. Doug says he'd settle for supersonic. I'd settle for supersonic. Do you know what, Doug? The other week I Googled how fast the Concords went. Like, I know we don't have Concords anymore because they go boom. But I was Googling, like, why would somebody risk a Concorde? And I'm like, yep, I'd probably risk that. It turns an 18-hour flight into like 6 hours or something. I'm like, I'd do that. The transporter will scramble your cells. But the point is they scramble them and then unscramble them. So yeah. Oh, Rebecca MC, I can't wait to meet you in real life. Oh, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Let me look here. Yeah, 2.2 mark. Yeah, I look, oh my gosh. The Concorde was London to New York and it was 3.5 hours. So that's why people risked it. Oh, that's why people risked it. And now what's London to New York now? Like, just for comparison. I don't know. London to New York. I'm going to guess at least 12 hours. I actually have no idea. I'm guessing. It's a total guess. Can't wait to meet you too. So excited. Oh, it's like, ugh. Oh, I mean, yay. They're working on a new supersonic without the boom. I would like it to not have the boom. That'd be great. When transporters are a thing, will we be able to pay to have them change our bodies in transit, change our hair color, make us strong? I mean, they don't in Star Trek, so I don't know. I mean, I know that they can change your clothes, but, you know, I don't know. Okay, so it's 8 to 10 hours now. I just think if everything is so far away, 8 to 10 hours instead of 3 to 5. I mean, yeah, I would, that's totally, I know what the boom I'm talking about is not the supersonic boom, but the boom of exploding airplanes. So yeah, that's why people would pay for the time savings off the Concorde. Yeah. Shark Scrapper says New York to London is 7 hours 10 minutes. Like, seriously? Okay, so halving the time, right? Let's say it halves the time. That would mean that it would be Brisbane to Dallas in 9 hours. I'd take that. Doug, would you do that? If you could do Brisbane to Dallas in 9 hours, would you look at that? What is the minimum wage in Australia? Again, minimum wage in Australia is currently sitting at 22 Australian dollars. So, or, you know, there might be some cents in there, but it's around 22 Australian dollars for minimum wage. Chantelle, we have jump rooms to get to certain areas. I mean, that would be nice. No jet lag. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine, just imagine a world where you can just make a decision to go somewhere. Obviously, let's not talk about the finances, but you make a decision and you go somewhere and you can actually start planning to enjoy that time from the second you get there and not having to worry about jet lag and planning like I have to get to Dallas a few days early because I don't know how I'm going to go with jet lag. So that means additional nights accommodation and things like that. So Shark Scrapper says, but if they reduce the time by half, will first class be able to drink enough booze to make it worthwhile? Probs not. And the other thing is they won't have time to sleep it off either because no jet lag. They can't just go, oh, it was jet lag. No, everyone's going to know you've got a hangover, dude. So maybe they'll just have to drink less on planes. Yeah, you'll still have to deal with time differences. Yeah. And that's a big part of it as well. But if you are able to do it like basically an overnighter, yeah. Home Rapid Repairs says that's about $14.95 USD. What is the minimum wage in the US? Just out of curiosity, like that's our Aussie wage converted down. What is the standard minimum wage in the US? I don't know what it is. Yeah, time differences kind of suck. Like, you know, and that's always going to be the case because we live on a really big globe and yeah. Okay. So the current minimum wage in the US is $7. So our minimum wage is double your minimum wage, but our cost of living is a lot higher too. I could tell you, I was watching a TikTok from some young dude, and he's American. He's come to Australia, and he went to buy some beer. Anyway, some sort of alcohol. I was absolutely horrified at the cost of alcohol here because we have all sorts of taxes on alcohol and cigarettes. A big one was a drummer from some big band. I can't think of the name of the band. It was huge. It was Tommy Lee. Went in and bought 3 packets of cigarettes and was told like that was like $180 or something for 3 packets of cigarettes. And he was just like, no, 3 packets, not 3 cartons. And they were like, 3 packets, $160. Because like cigarettes here, like a 25 to 30 pack of cigarettes is $45. If you want the bigger packs, you're paying $60 a packet for cigarettes. A stock standard, so vodka O, which I know you can get in the US, vodka O is around $45 to $50 a bottle here. So yeah, it's definitely we have some very high taxes on some things, and then other things like, sorry, they're not taxes, they're excises, because we only have one tax. We have 10% GST, so general sales tax across everything. The other thing in Australia, which I want to die on this hill, we have the ticketed price is what you pay. If you see $2.50 for a bottle of water, you can count out $2.50 and hand it to the cashier and walk out. What you pay, and everywhere across the board, whether they're having sales or not, everything is always whatever the ticketed price is, that's what you pay. And if it doesn't match up, it's free. And most companies have that, like most supermarkets. If the price on your item is different in the computer than the ticketed amount, you get it for free. It really makes it worthwhile for them to get it right. Each state has their own minimum federal wage. Okay, no, we have a national one. So yeah. And like that's the thing as well. Just because it's a minimum wage doesn't mean that's the wage you'll work for. Honestly, it's going to depend on what you are doing as well. Like, yeah, okay. But like I don't know what, like I was looking at like I'm flying economy, but I always have a little look at, you know, how the better half get to fly. My economy tickets were like $3.5-ish grand Australian. If I wanted to fly business class, I was looking at closer to 15,000. I think it was, I'm trying to work out if it was 15,000 one way or 15,000 return. It was a huge difference. So I'm like 20 grand is only a couple of grand more than, so if you're a business class, like if you're already traveling business class, right? If your budget is business class and you could spend an extra $5,000 and save half of your time, you'd probably pay it. I personally couldn't, but if you're already doing that for that price, then you know, what's the next little extra bit? I always love these chats because I learn so much about like all different countries, because we've got We've got a lot of you from the US, some of us from Australia, but also like legal minded friends with Karens in the UK. So we get to see a big comparison of the cost of livings for different things. Like, what is fuel like here at the moment? Like petrol, we pay per litre, which it's 3.7 litres to a gallon. So you got to do all the mathing around that. But like, let me just have a look at what we're looking at for petrol right now. Apparently I can't even type the word petrol in my phone. Can I look at, I should have just petrol prices. Okay. Right now. That doesn't seem right. All right, so we have this week, because the petrol prices, you know, are crazy. And last week they were 168 cents per litre. And now they're 199 cents per litre. So about $2 a litre for petrol. So let me calculator. So 2 times 3.7. So we're paying about $7.50 Australian per gallon, which that's high for us. That's high for us. So yeah, and it just like, you've got to grab it on the right day. Otherwise you're just like paying ridiculous money for fuel. Yeah, that's right. Because our prices include taxes. That's exactly right. The prices on the items include the taxes. So that's why a lot of people from other countries get caught out in the US, because the US doesn't include their taxes. They do that at the checkout. I don't understand why you can't put it on the individual items. Your computer's got it in there. So anyway, someone doesn't want to do that job. That job doesn't want to be done. So no one wants to do it. And yeah, that's the other thing. Whatever that posted amount is, unless you've got like a coupon code to get it cheaper, that's how much you pay per litre. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'm flying from Australia. And that Concorde was New York to London. Yeah. Oh, I'm hazarding a guess. It'd be considerably more expensive if it flew from here. Gasoline here is about $3.20 a gallon. So yeah. Yeah, that's right. It fluctuates from $1.70 a litre to $2.40 a litre. So I did my math just on the $2, sort of like that median kind of price. But yeah, it depends on the day and which service station you go to and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it all depends. Oh, that's the other thing. You have to stand there and hold it. With my little hands, it's really annoying. You've got to hold it. You can't just lock it in and walk and lean on your car. You've got to hold it and pump it the whole time. So, and pump it. Like, no, you just stand there and it pumps itself. Yeah, that's the full, that's what we pay. Like in Australia, everything is like whatever it's listed is, that's what you pay. There is no additional taxes added after the advertised amount. So yeah. So in the US, that includes, okay, so that's including your taxes. So that's great. Oh, Louis. Oh, here we go. Look, Louis is looking a bit adorable right this second. Let me just see if I can. Here we go. Louis is looking a bit adorable in the sunbeam. He's got sunbeam. Oh, Doug says that when he was in South Africa, all the petrol stations were the same price. Wow. Here it's just like the price from the petrol station across the road could be totally different. Got to make sure you download the apps. Download the apps and find the best price before you leave home. In the US, taxes can vary so much by location, county, or tax exempt status of the purchase, so it all gets added at the end. See, like, other than the tax exempt status of the purchaser, right? Which in Australia, we have tax exempt purchases, but they have to claim that back in their taxation. But when it comes to the location in the county, the shop's not going to move, right? Like, the price for the milk in that particular location, that store on the corner, that shop's not going to move. They could add that in and only make it different if it's a tax exempt purchaser, right? Like, the shop's not moving locations. And sure, different shops would have different locations, but like, anyway, I've always flummoxed by that one. The Gas Buddy app. Oh, we've got so many apps. There's so many apps. Like, it depends on which brand service station you want, and or if you want one that's a bit more all encompassing, or yeah, I don't know. Get an app. Well, that's interesting. You have to claim back the zero tax. See, we do have items that have zero tax. So on GST, when they worked out the GST for Australia, they sat down and worked out some standard things. So if you buy some steak, some raw uncooked steak from, say, a butcher or a deli department, there's zero. That doesn't include GST. There's no GST included. If you're buying fruit and vegetables that are just whole fruit and veggies that haven't been cut or trimmed or peeled or whatever, they're just a bag of apples, no GST. So your basic foods don't include GST. So they already are tax exempt. So they made it so that those of us on that lower income threshold that are just buying standard everyday food, a lot of those sorts of food, the basic necessities of life, are GST free. But the second you want your watermelon chopped up into chunks and it's put in a sealed container, that has been processed, therefore it has GST. If you want your, if you're buying already cooked chicken, that has GST, whereas an uncooked chicken has no GST. So all of those sorts of things, so the things that those of us in our community that are on those lower echelon incomes that would probably be eligible. I'm not really sure what would make someone eligible for tax-free shopping, but those that I would assume it'd be the lower income people. Those people already get that by buying their basics. So the list of things, there was a huge issue around women's feminine products because they're a processed item, but they are a necessity of life, and it took they put the GST on them, and it took them many years to take the GST off. So yeah, it was like, all these women were like, dudes, if we had a choice, it wouldn't be happening. It is not something we choose to do. And so there was a huge. It took years for them to sort out what they were going to put GST on versus not GST on. So the thing that came out of it was things like televisions and, did I say 80s? It was 2000. GST came in Australia on July 1st, 2000. I was part of a GST implementation team for a company I worked for. So that was exciting. It really wasn't. But yeah, it was... GST is general sales tax. It is our national sales tax that we have in Australia. It is the only sales tax that we have is 10%. So, before our goods and services tax, it could be, like you'd import a television, it could have 22%, but, but apples could have 4%, things like that. So, what they did was they made it a middle amount, and everything has that exact same amount of sales tax added to it, except for the exempt list, which is basically unprocessed foods, really, and necessities of life. So, but the government gets around some things sometimes by having levies or excises, which is how I got onto this in the first place. Welcome to Taxation in Australia with Chantelle, who is not an accountant, but I am married to one, and I worked in accounts departments for many years. I do have to understand how it works. But yeah, it's really annoying. But yeah, it's very bizarre. It's you just got used to it. And it's been around for a long time now, so I think most people are totally used to it. The other advantage of sales tax being at 10%, which they are talking about increasing it in Australia, but the advantage of it being 10% is really easy to work out. Simple. So simple. Yeah. Yeah, unprocessed, unprepared foods is not taxed. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely, it's one of those things. Here we go. Live stream consultant says pretty much the same here. Any raw food necessities are not taxed. Same with processed foods. They get taxed here generally. Yeah. But ours is like the same tax across the board, and it's national. And when you're doing tax returns for companies and stuff, you can claim back GST credits, and your GST is always added separately. You can always see it as a separate line item on invoicing and everything, or it's got to say GST inclusive. So, you know, there's all sorts of rules. We had to redevelop SAP systems to make it so that we could make our invoices legal and things like that. It was fun. It was an exciting time. It really wasn't. Anyway, what are you here for? Live streaming, not Australian taxation rules. One thing I do want to say is, speaking on taxation, just as a generalization, when somebody on YouTube is giving you taxation rules, more so when somebody's asking about what they can and can't claim on their tax, as a YouTube creator, you need to find out the rules for your country. Most of the people giving the advice are in the USA, and those rules don't apply everywhere. Like, I was listening to, Viper was having a discussion with, I think, Roberto Blake on one of his coffee talks, and they were talking about if a company gives you a gift of something, you don't have to do a review of it or not. It's your choice. In Australia, gifts are tax deductible. You have to find the current retail rate and add that in as income. And if you are given an item, like say you're a beauty influencer and you're given a handbag to make some content, you absolutely have to declare the cost, the actual retail cost of that handbag. And there's no limits. If it's a $50 handbag, if it's a $10,000 handbag, you have to put in what you get. Now, obviously, some people ride the line and hope they don't get caught. Welcome to, you know, human nature. But definitely, you need to be making sure that whatever tax advice you're getting, you need to make sure that that you are getting it for your relevant, you know, taxable location. Do you know this all started due to your trip to Dallas, Texas? You know this all started. What all started? Because I've been complaining about the no tax on things in the US for years, like, because we talk about it over on the Fiberific channel as well. Funnily enough, we talk taxation there too, which is weird. So yeah, the taxation stuff is applicable for your physical location. Also, keep in mind, Americans are one of, I think, 2 or 3 countries in the world that tax their citizenry, not their residents. So if you're an American who happens to live outside of America and you think you're following all the laws of the country that you are now, patriated to, you may find yourself in for a rude shock when the IRS catch up with you, because I've got some friends here in Australia who are American couple who moved to Australia. They've been here for 20 years and they are not silly people. They are very highly intelligent people. They are Australian citizens now and have been for 20 odd years. And they had to sort out some heavy duty stuff that cost them a lot of money, because our superannuation in Australia, how it's sort of, which I think is equivalent to your 401k, USA sees it as a hidden bank account rather than as a retirement fund. So yeah, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Very true, Chantelle. Reporting income, taxes, etc. can be very different from country to country and the legal entity of the company. That's why I use a certified accountant for my taxes. Me too. Me too. And it's not my husband. He's an accountant, but he's not that kind of accountant. So yeah, it is absolutely get an accountant. And even if you're a beginner creator and you're trying to work stuff out, go and get an accountant, even just for a once-off consult, or maybe even twice consult, so that they can go and research and come back to you, so you can get the best information. Because at least in Australia, there's actually a lot you can claim back on your income tax. Know Your Joe says, okay, if it's $2,000 ASD handbag and the company sells it to you for 1,000 ASD or even 500, and you're making a review on it, if the taxation department finds out that they gave you a special deal because you're also making income, you have to find the current retail rate, not your special super discounted price. It's really, really bizarre. It's not bizarre. They're just trying to get their pound of flesh. That's all it is. Yeah, I started training as a tax lawyer, but decided I'm too old to go back to uni. I don't agree with that statement, but it also, you have to really decide, do you want it enough? Get one that understands small business tax and creator economy if possible. Yes, you absolutely need to be talking to an accountant that understands small business tax. In Australia, I'm running as what's called a sole proprietor, which is, it's just me. But once you start creating companies and things like that, you absolutely need an accountant. Even for sole proprietor, I realized I was missing out on so much stuff, and my accountant is fantastic. And then he didn't know all that much about the creator economy, and he went and researched it so he could give me better advice. Find yourself a good accountant. It's like anything. You can get a cheap accountant or you can get a good accountant. Not often you can get both. Best move when starting a business, get an attorney and an accountant and set things up correctly from the get-go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like Shark Scrapper agrees as well. Absolutely. We are delaying your packing. No, I won't be packing till later in the day. I've started blocking out more time for this live stream because it's been running longer and longer and longer. So much for the hour. But we do have usually like an hour of like my pre-prepared. Sorry, because I'm tired and my brain's going, my stutter is starting to kick in. So please bear with me. So having that section at the start where we talk about whatever the thumbnail is, having that, but then we go on to whatever it is you need to talk about, because that's definitely what we're here for. It's why it's got a live Q&A, because that conversation can be anything. I do try to keep it around creative stuff. It's not very rarely does it stay that way. But yeah, Doug says, I blame Daniel Batal and Dean Niman for your tiredness. So do I. Wasn't that stream supposed to go for an hour? And then it went for two hours? Because their stream yesterday started at 11:30 p.m. my time. So their stream started at 11:30, finished at 1:30 or thereabouts. And then I had to get up at 7. So, yeah, because it's what we do. It's what I do, and it's actually, it was one of the reasons why I was tossing up whether I was going to live stream today, because I knew I'd be up late last night and working out that balance. And this is the thing, like, just to bring it all back around. Sometimes there's opportunities that throw your calendar out of the window, but are they worth it? Sometimes they are. Legal Mind with Karen says, I'm really interested in the cost of living around the world. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic, because a lot of people just assume first world, all of us little first world countries like Australia and the US and a couple of the others, that everything's sort of similarly priced and it's similar sorts of advantages and disadvantages to their citizenry, but it's not at all. It's not even remotely close. It's totally different. I'm totally preparing myself for culture shock when I hit the US. Absolutely, this is part of the flavor of your live streams, for sure. Yeah, and when you're setting up your businesses, you totally need to get the right kind of accounts. Absolutely. Now, see, I was pretty lucky because I've run small businesses for other people, and I've worked in the admin and accounting for so many small businesses. Because I've been working for 30 odd years of my life now. Only 8 of them doing YouTube stuff. The rest of them was all for other companies. I did know what I needed to do for some things. Yeah, Daryl really is making the rounds before VidSummit. He does every year though. He does every year. It's really, I actually love it because we don't get to see much of Daryl throughout the year. He does like the occasional little stream where he's interviewing someone. But then just before VidSummit, he goes around and does heaps. It's fantastic. I know your Joe says, I want to know where is the best place to retire to maximize funds. For my money, it's Thailand. I think it's Thailand. Yeah, I'm hearing Thailand and Bali. So, and not like beach Bali, but other parts of Bali. But Thailand is the big one. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for my small business, my last return was like 30 pages, and mine's a very small business. So yeah, it's I've never done a live stream that stayed on topic. It's much more interesting to share life stories. This is the thing. I can plan out a topic. I can have a discussion point about it. But what you take from that and your next question could lead us somewhere totally new, which is why I love live streaming. So yeah, it's definitely, amazing. Your destinations, no, he lives in Thailand. Thailand also comes with its own problems. It would do. Any other country would definitely come with its own issues. I know I've got friends here who are planning to retire in Bali, because for similar money of retirement in Australia, like low level, like hard retirement in Australia, they can actually go and have a comfortable retirement in Bali. The real question is, do you really want to pack? Look, you know what? Like, I am a crack packer. I've got a list. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been making. I'm just seeing if I can find it. I just want to quickly double check it to see if it's shareable. Look, I can share part of it. I can share to here. Like, I've been making a list. It's got a little checklist with all the books and things that I want to take and all the clothes I want to take. And I've been adding to it. There's more stuff down the bottom that I personal items, shoes, things like that. And then I've got my tech list, which is another list that looks like that. That's all my tech stuff that I want to take. So, and I've been doing my washing, making and planning my home wardrobe for the next week out based on that list. And this morning I was going through my drawers, pulling everything. So it's basically a case of now just adding my new AirTag to my suitcase. Did I tell you guys the story about the AirTag? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if I told you the story about the AirTag. So yeah, I knew you were a list maker. I'll probably just wing it. If I forget something, I'll buy it there. Do you know what? I'm the same. I'm sure I've missed something really important off this list, and I will pack to the list. And then I'll get there and realize that I'm missing something. Shark Scrapper says, did I see 5 pairs of pants on that list? That conference isn't that long. I'm in the US for 8 to 9 days. The conference is 3 days, but I've got days on either side that I'm there for as well. So I'm packing for 8 days. So plus, stuff. Oh, I've just realized why Tibble's yelling, because he's outside. He thinks I'm ignoring him and not letting him in the house, and he wants to come in. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah. So, you have not heard the AirTag story. Okay, well, I'm going to tell the AirTag story just for Know Your Joe. So I was researching out the best AirTag alternatives for my Pixel, right? Because I'm an Android girl. So, you know, I have my Mac Mini, I have my iPad, but I have Windows laptops, and I have my you know, my Android phone. So I was looking up the best options of AirTag alternatives for Android devices, and then I realized very quickly it's not that easy. The Samsung is not reliable with the Pixel, and you know, all these sorts of things. It was not reliable with the Pixel, and I was starting to get really, really frustrated that they couldn't just sort themselves out and give me the device I want to have for my Pixel, because I want to travel and not have my suitcase stolen or nicked or lost or not put on the plane or whatever it is. I'm hearing horror stories and I just need to do something to negate it. So I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and I'm getting more and more and more frustrated by the fact that I can't just have something as simple as the AirTag for my Pixel. And then I was complaining about it to my daughter, and she started laughing at me, and I'm like, what? And she's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And I was like, okay, cool, because she laughs at me all the time. So I left it at that. What she was laughing at, which I realized later, is, hello, I have an iPad. I track her on her iPhone using my iPad. So I can have an AirTag because I'm taking my iPad. So a whole week of like frustrating research, well, maybe not a whole week, but you know, over a week, like bits of time over a week of frustrating research trying to find the best AirTag alternative for this. And I don't have to have an AirTag alternative because I've got an iPad, and the iPad's coming with me. So yeah, that was my iPad story. I was very frustrated and angry at myself. And then when I told my daughter, she goes like, that's what I was laughing at. I was like, yeah, thanks for not telling me and making me take a couple of days. So you have a Mac Mini and an iPad and an Android phone. Did I hear that correctly? Yes, you did. For many, many, many years, I've been anti-Mac, right? Anti-Apple, hate Apple, don't like the fact that nothing works with anything outside of the Apple ecosystem. Drove me insane. Hated it. I worked for IT departments. We avoided Macs like the plague, okay? Getting Mac parts in Australia, nightmare back in the 90s when I was working IT. And so, you know, it was, I just hated it, right? So I avoided it, and I looked down on Mac users. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I was like, oh, okay. Get a real computer. And then the Mac Silicon came out. And not long after the Mac Silicon came out, and I was watching, because I still watched all the reviews on the Mac stuff, because I work with people who are Mac people, and I need to be able to understand both things. So I was trying to understand stuff. And at that particular point in time, my main computer was dying, and I was like having to make a decision on a new computer. And so I decided to get a Mac Mini, because I figured then I can have my laptop for Windows and my Mac Mini for the Mac OS. I've got my Pixel phone for my daily driver, because I'm still an Android girl. The Louis Cam here is a little iPhone that I have basically connected to the desk. It doesn't travel, doesn't have a SIM in it, but it's so I can touch all the things, and so I can have all the devices. But yeah, I'm starting to lean slightly more towards the Mac. My laptops now are aging out. The one that I can travel with that doesn't weigh 3.5 kilos is it doesn't weigh 3.5 kilos. A little Lenovo. It is dying. It now can no longer work. Like, I get about an hour battery before it needs recharging, and it will not charge from a battery pack anymore. It has to be, it's USB-C, but it has to have mains power charging. So it's not a laptop anymore. It's not portable. I mean, it's a laptop, but it's not portable. So I don't have a transportable laptop. So I'm working with like anytime I need to work outside of the house, it's an iPad with a Magic Keyboard. And so, you know, that's what I'm traveling with, because I'm like, and now I'm like, okay, I need to buy another laptop. Am I going to buy a Mac? and I'm leaning into a MacBook Pro. I was thinking a MacBook Air could do it, but I'm leaning into a MacBook Pro. But, you know, I can buy a car for the same money that I can buy a MacBook Pro in Australia. So, Doug says, if I ever transition to work from home full-time or go full-time creator, I'll have 0 Windows in my life, as in Windows computers. So, yeah. I'm seriously considering it. It's a lot of money, and once I've got it saved up, I'll have to decide what I'm going to do. Yeah, take a pic, make a checklist, type a letter. It shows up on all the devices like magic. Yeah, look, I know I've kind of worked around that. You know, I've got some things that I've got, like, you know, I'm able to add some Google stuff like Google Keep and things like that to my Mac devices, so I'm able to access them. But yeah, it's definitely a way around it. Yeah. Does it matter if your iPad is Wi-Fi or cellular for the AirTag to work? Well, I've already set it up and it works, and my iPad is Wi-Fi, so it's not a cellular iPad. So I've already got it set up and it works, and I already track my daughter on it and it works. So I'm really hoping that I can hotspot it to my phone to check things. So yeah. But yeah, like buy a Mac in the States, I'm seriously considering it. So I don't know, but not this trip. You know, it's in Australia for the MacBook Pro with the 16 gig. I can't remember the exact specs I chose. It was pretty low end MacBook Pro. Was 3,200 Australian dollars. So yeah. Yes, and that's what I do. I'm a Google Docs person. I use Google Docs. I use Google Sheets. I use Google Keep. And I'm used to, and I've used all those for many years. So I'm very used to it, and I can bring them all over to over to, you know, both my iOS devices as well as my macOS devices. So yeah. Yeah, I thought AirTag was Bluetooth. I didn't think it mattered if you were on Wi-Fi or cellular. And this little guy has to be within Bluetoothable distance to something. So yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I mean, it just need a different plug, different PowerPoint plug. So other than that, it'll be fine. But that is a big thing. I will have to, like, unless I sort of did the dodgy, which is not really my cup of tea, I would have to pay tax on it coming in. So I'd have to add 10% to whatever it came out to. So yeah. Enjoy Excel on a Mac. It's not great. I can tell you that right now. It's not awesome. It's usable, not awesome. Hey Susie, it's good to see you. Good to see you. On that note, everybody, it is time to say goodbye. And those of you that I will see in the US next week, I will see you there. Otherwise, keep your eyes peeled for the next schedule. Make sure you got your notifications on, just in case we kind of, you know, do something impromptu, or I'm not guaranteeing anything. It's just a possibility. So I will catch you all in the next few weeks. I hope everything is good and that you have a really great fun time live streaming or creating. Save up your questions for next time. You can always DM me on Twitter. I'm around. And I will catch you later. Be good now. Bye.